Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today I thought I would do a video all about the best options to go for Game Week 26. I'm hoping this video is going to be just the ultimate guide to buying players for Game Week 26. Who are the best players? Who are the players who are a little bit more risky? Which players do I absolutely need? So we're going to have a look at the fixtures today. We're going to have a look at the best players and give them each a rating. And then finally, we are going to finish off with my list of my top favourite players to go for this game week in order of who is the most important to go for and who's the least important to go for. So all of that to cram in today. So if you do enjoy today's video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you are new around here and you like having fantasy football videos in your feed. You know, subscribe, easy as that. If you want to do that, that'd be brilliant. Without further ado, guys, let's have a look at the fixtures for game week 26. So as always, guys, there's plenty of nice images in this video. If you like these images, if you find them useful, feel free to take a screenshot to have them on your phone, or I'm also going to post them on my Twitter and Instagram at FPL Mate. If you want to just have access to these images for reference, that's absolutely cool. But here are the fixtures, guys. Here are the double Game Week 26 fixtures. You can see all of them in all of their glory. Who are the hard fixtures? Who are the difficult fixtures? I put little ratings next to them as well. But actually, I think we should reorder them, rejig them about. This looks a little bit better to me. This is the order in which I believe is the best pair of fixtures to the worst pair of fixtures. So out of the double game week teams, I believe Liverpool have the best two fixtures, and I believe Leeds have the worst two fixtures. You might disagree, you might say you kind of want to change these around a little bit, but this is the order I'd do it in. So Liverpool versus Norwich and Leeds, I think that's definitely the best one. Arsenal is second with Brentford and Wolves. You look at these fixtures, in particular, Brentford and Wolves, you would say they're really good fixtures from a defensive point of view, maybe not so much as an attacking point of view. So Arsenal defenders, maybe something to look at. Watford have got Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, so I do think they have the third best fixtures of these teams, but we do also have to remember that they are also Watford. We've got Crystal Palace who play Chelsea and Watford. Chelsea obviously have been playing a lot of games all over the place at the moment, haven't they? And by the time this fixture comes along, they wouldn't have played a Premier League game in a month. So that home game for Crystal Palace could be pretty interesting, to be fair. We've got Wolves who have an interesting pair of fixtures. We know Wolves are a defensive team, but they actually play two kind of tricky attacks. But you would definitely say that the Leicester at home is definitely a game that can have goals, and Arsenal away, who knows what's going to happen there. That's a slightly more tricky fixture, but are we depending on Wolves? Do we think Wolves are really an amazing defence? I mean, yeah, they are an amazing defence, but can they keep clean sheets against these teams? I don't know. We've got Burnley against Brighton and Tottenham. Two pretty average fixtures, you would say. Tottenham play City and Burnley. City, maybe a write-off game completely, but Burnley looks pretty good. And Leeds, unfortunately, play Man United and Liverpool. Although saying that, with Man United's recent form, maybe you consider that to be a slightly easier fixture than meets the eye. But there you go. Those are the fixtures. I think let's have a look at some players. So what we're going to do is we're going to go team by team, and I'm going to give each of these teams, I'm going to pick out some of their best players, and then we're going to give them each a rating. And the ratings are essential players. So these are solid Game Week 26 must-have options. And when I say essential, I don't literally mean essential unless their name is Mo Salah. But these are really, really, really good picks for the double game week. We've got optional players, potential sleeper options players that could be pretty good, but I don't think you absolutely must have them by any stretch of the imagination. We've got some punts as well in here as well, who are pretty risky. I wouldn't go with too many of these players, but they could actually be some really nice differentials in there. So we're going to go team by team, and we're going to give some players these ratings. Let's go. So starting off with Liverpool, we know that they have the best two fixtures. Norwich at home, Leeds at home, really, really nice. And I feel like you guys probably know this already, but you absolutely have to triple up on Liverpool. Now, the two essential players that you have to have, pretty much, is really, really important that you have, are Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. These two players are so important to have in your FPL rosters. Salah is going to be the out-and-out captain choice for the game week. I've said this before, I'll say it again, you will very rarely find a triple captain opportunity better than Salah in Game Week 26 of the 2021-22 season. In years, you will not have a better opportunity than this. It's going to be years before there's a better opportunity. Honestly, it's not just the case of, maybe there'll be a better opportunity this season. It won't happen. Maybe there'll be a better opportunity next season. Pretty unlikely. This is a rare circumstance, guys, so that's why it's so super obvious to captain Salah against two really rubbish teams that are conceding a lot of goals. Both fixtures at home, both Norwich and Leeds, they are pretty tragic teams, and they're arguably two of them, the teams that you would target first out of any team in the Premier League. 2 home games. This is incredible. This is unheard of. This is a very, very rare opportunity, and I really think you need to embrace it with the triple captain on Salah. If you want to go for a differential triple captain, I mean, that's on you completely. I'm not going to get involved in that one. But also, tripling up on Liverpool on this double game week is just going to be incredible. Really incredible, and it's going to hail so many points. So, Alexander-Arnold is the other essential player here. We're going to see him at, we're going to see him in everyone's teams as well. Everyone's going to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, and, if he does pretty well, it's going to spell trouble. He's also the most nailed on of the defenders, you would probably say, so along with Van Dijk, who I put at the bottom there. So yeah, Salah, Trent, 2 insane players to go for this game week who are going to do super well, and they're going to hail so many points. Right. After that, you kind of have a little bit of an option. I put Jota and Robertson here as 2 optional players. Now, when I say they're optional players, they're actually more like essential, but you could only have one of them. So they're both optional, as in you have the option to choose one of Jota or Robertson. Those are your 2 options. That is your 2 options there. Now, I do slightly prefer Robertson. I think he's slightly more nailed on for these 2 games. But I also think Robertson has been playing really well. Arguably as well as Trent Alexander-Arnold. I really think he has been that good. And I do wonder about Jota's, not just his game time, but also how important and crucial he'll be now that Salah is back. Remember, we've got Mane there. We've got Firmino. We've got Diaz, who's going to be getting some game time as well. How many minutes does Jota have? I don't know. A lot of people say that Jota is only really rotating with Firmino, but we've already seen that's not true. We saw Jota come off the bench over game week 25 and actually replace Mane's taking Mane's slot on the left. So, it really is it's an interesting one. We don't know exactly where everyone's going to play all the time. Jota can play in a variety of positions, but there is going to be a rotation there. Sometimes Jota will play on the left. Sometimes Jota will play in the middle. Sometimes will be rotated for players who play on the left and in the middle. So there you go. It's not 100% sure that he's going to get lots of minutes. But what we will say is that the minutes that he does get, and you probably still expect him to get 100 plus minutes over the game week. So over the double game week, 100 minutes, 110 plus minutes. That is enough. That is enough to get a really decent score. But I still would consider Robertson. Now, those 2 players, they're pretty close in terms of who is the better option. So, whichever one if you have one of them right now and not the other, just keep the one that you do have. But I just wanted to put that out there. I do think I personally slightly prefer Robertson for this double game week. And if you, for some reason, you've got your Salah, you've got your Trent, and you cannot find a way of getting Jota or Robertson in, then maybe Van Dijk is worth a punt as well. But only in that situation where you can't get Jota or Robertson in. So Arsenal, another really good team to target. 2 good fixtures, Brentford and Wolves. Again, these are 2 fixtures that look really good for a defensive point of view. So defenders are probably the players you probably most like to go for here. Ramsdale, I think, is a phenomenal goalkeeper for this game week. We know that not only does he keep clean sheets, but he makes so many saves. He gets those bonus points as well, and he ends up with hauls so often. So you can imagine over the course of Brentford at home and Wolves at home, 2 fixtures that you would say on paper that Arsenal got a good chance of keeping clean sheets in those games. This could be a really decent FPL score there. But there are some other players that I really like the look of. Obviously, Tierney and White are pretty decent options if you want to double up on that defence. We've got Saka there as well, who I think is a decent option. And Lacazette is a bit of a punt. Just the fact that we don't really have many forward options kind of makes it worth at least thinking about going for an Arsenal forward. Just because there's not really many other forwards to go for right now. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't think about Lacazette if anyone else was performing in the forward department. But there we go. That's the situation we're in. But yeah, certainly for a defensive point of view, it looks really good. And if we're going to go for an attacker, I would say Saka is the one to go for. Now, a warning on Arsenal. If you are tripled up on Liverpool players, that means that if you're going for Arsenal players as well, you are going to have some problems in game week 27, because game week 27 Arsenal and Liverpool both blank, and because of that, if you've got 3 Liverpool players, then those are going to be your 3 players on your bench in game week 27, right? So if you add an Arsenal player to that, it's going to cause you a problem. Now, Ramsdale is fine because you can bench Ramsdale in the goalkeeper sub spot and use your other goalkeeper for the game week. But if you've got any other players after that, Saka, Tierney, Lacazette, White, then you're going to either have to free hit them out in game week 27, which is an option. If you're looking to free hit, definitely go for some Arsenal players this game week. But if not, you might have to find that you're, bringing in an Arsenal player and then taking one straight back out again in game week 27. I don't know if that's such a good idea for the long term. It kind of feels like a little bit of a waste of a transfer maybe, but that's kind of up to you. That could work out really well if you pick the right Arsenal player. So for Watford, it's kind of interesting. Like I said, the fixtures look pretty good, but the players don't. I mean, Foster, if you've got him already and he's already your backup goalkeeper, you don't have a Ramsdale, for example, you don't have another double game week goalkeeper, then Foster could actually be your saving grace in goal for that with that double game week. It's not bad. I wouldn't expect Watford to keep 2 clean sheets necessarily, but they have actually kind of been improving defensively under Roy Hodgson, so that is very possible, I suppose, that we could get some clean sheets here. Let's kind of see. Aside from that, you know, Dennis King, not really been performing. Sarr, is he going to come back into the fold and do quite well? Possibly as well. He's kind of tricky, though, because Watford have not really looked kind of fraudulent in terms of attack. So would you really want to be bringing in these players? Probably not necessarily, but they are okay punts if you kind of actually really want these players. It's gonna, I feel, with kind of like a Dennis, King, Sarr, if you already have them, then great, I guess play them. But if you don't, it's risky to kind of bring them in. But it's kind of up to you. A lot of you guys will have Dennis and King as kind of remnants from previous game weeks. But we know what happened last double game week that Watford have. And I wouldn't expect too much more this time either. But they are punts. Punts for a reason. Crystal Palace play Chelsea and Watford, and honestly, I kind of had higher expectations for some of these players. I mean, if you asked me a week ago if Edouard or Elise were punts, I would have said no. I would say they are optional players. But now, the problem is, we are seeing a lot of rotation in this Crystal Palace team. A lot of rotation, which is kind of worrying in a way, because we don't really know who to pick. So even players who we really like the look of, like Edouard and Elise, look really good when they're on the field. If they're rotation risk, then that's not really what we like over the course of a double game week. So that is a little bit concerning. But you do get the idea that in a single game week that either of those players could do quite well, providing they play. And the fact that we have got a double game week means that Edouard, Elise, they are going to play one of the 2 games, or at least you would hope, wouldn't you? Chelsea and Watford, I think is an okay double game week. I don't think that's too bad at all. There are some other players to consider as well. Zaha, he is far more nailed on than the other attackers at Crystal Palace, probably the most nailed on of the Crystal Palace attacker, and he's also on penalties as well. The problem is with Zaha is that he is a little bit of a loose cannon. He's a little bit of an FPL troll. He's a little bit of a yellow card magnet, occasional red cards as well. He is just, you know, never really know what kind of result you're going to get out of Zaha. It goes one way or the other. It really does. There's no real middle ground there. So for that reason, he is a punt, despite the fact that he's nailed. We've got Tyrick Mitchell in there as well. Crystal Palace defensively, I just don't really rate that much. So I do think that is a punt for that reason. But that Watford game could yield a clean sheet. You could see that happening. So if you are looking for a kind of cheap defender there, it's an option. It's a punt, but it's an option. So Wolves is kind of interesting because we really like the Wolves defenders. That's what we really like about the Wolves team, because they keep so many clean sheets and they don't score very many goals. Now the problem is that they're facing 2 teams that are actually not bad attacks. So it's kind of interesting. Leicester at home is a fantastic opportunity for any attacker. Leicester, for me right now, are the worst defence in the entire league. So a player like Jimenez could be really good for this double game week, but that's an attacker. It's a Wolves attacker, and you know the risk when you're going for them. What we're really looking at is these cheap Wolves defenders, and when you look at these 2 fixtures from a defensive point of view, maybe it's not looking quite as hot, which is why I haven't really rated Wolves as one of the best, with the better pairs of fixtures, just because I'm not sure this pair of fixtures really suit Wolves and the players from Wolves we'd be looking to get. However, there are probably going to be some points to be gained here, and Wolves are such a fantastic defence that maybe even in these tricky games, from a defensive point of view, they can still grind out those clean sheets. It's very possible, right, guys? So in terms of the more defensive players, we've got Cody. We know he's super nailed. Kilman, I think, is almost as nailed as Cody as well. So if you want to save that little bit of money, you could go for Kilman and get a player who is arguably just as nailed. I don't know, maybe a little bit of debate there. Nori is a little bit of a punt just because he is occasionally rotated. He does play most of his game, but he is occasionally rotated. And again, when we talk about double game week players, we want those players who are going to be really guaranteed to be starting both games. But if Nori does start both games, that's going to be pretty good because he's playing for a good defense. And Nori has the benefit of being a really good attack-minded player as well. Really good kind of advanced wing-back for Wolves on the left-hand side there. So actually, Nori could pay off, but he's going to have to play both games, and I don't know if he is going to or not. And that's the situation we find ourselves in with Wolves. Burnley have kind of two average fixtures. Brighton away, we know that's kind of a trolley game. And Spurs at home. Spurs, we don't really know what we're dealing with at the moment. But there are some options here. There are definitely some options. It's just a case of which ones you're going to go for. So, Weghorst, really like the look of him. And remember, guys, Burnley also have a double game week in 27 as well. So, Burnley are going to have the double, two back-to-back double game weeks. So you'll probably want to have a real look at these, especially if you're planning for a 2-game week period or something, maybe even longer, because Burnley still will have 2 more games in hand to be rescheduled after these 2 double game weeks in a row. So definitely want to be looking at Burnley to some capacity. Weghorst looks super good at the moment. Super good. He is, he's looking really good. Those of you who have watched him against Manchester United and Liverpool, 2 fixtures that you would have said would be pretty difficult fixtures. He's looked really hot in both of those games, getting plenty of chances, taking plenty of shots. Very unlucky for him not to get something out of that Liverpool game as well. I was kind of surprised he didn't get anything out there. I was kind of relieved because I have double Liverpool defence. But at the same time, it was like, oh my word, this guy is the business. This guy's the business, and he's proven it in every league that he's been in. This is a really good signing for Burnley. He's going to do really well between now and the end of the season, and I think you want to have a really good look at him, particularly in a situation where we're not really seeing too many forwards that appeal to us right now. Also, it should be said on Weghorst is that he is likely to be on penalties for Burnley as well. He is a penalty taker. So yeah, provided he is fit and available for Game Week 26, even in these kind of average fixtures, they're better than the fixtures he's just had, and he did very well in those fixtures. So, yeah, I would feel pretty positive about this one. Cornet, depending on where he plays, is he going to play on the left-hand side? Is he going to play as a striker? I don't know. It kind of feels like he should move into the striker position when Goodmanson comes back into the Burnley team. But I don't know. It's kind of risky, but Cornet is one of their best players, right? He is going to be playing both of the games in the game week as well. He's a really good price. He gets extra points for those clean sheets, which you would imagine a clean sheet against Brighton. Very possible for Burnley there, and also, an extra point for a goal as well. So Cornet could be on for a really good score as well. Even doubling up on Weghorst and Cornet, a lot of people will say, who should I go for? Well, Weghorst makes the most sense because there's so many midfield options to go for, but not many forwards. So Weghorst just kind of fills up a forward slot that we don't really care about forward slots, right? So we want to fill those slots off. But equally, Cornet does get those extra points for the same action. So no problem with going for both of them. If you have to go for one or the other, who fits your team better? I would imagine it's probably going for the forward. But we have got some other options. If you're backing the Burnley defence, Pope is a great option. We know he's going to play both games. We know he's got 2 doubles in a row. We think he's going to get some clean sheets out of these, so it could be a pretty good option. And it's a goalkeeper, so you can just keep him and set and forget him for the rest of the season. They'll probably serve you quite well. Tarkowski and me, a little bit more risky because these are kind of not really players you'd want to keep long term, I imagine, guys. But they're punts. They could work out if you really are looking for defenders to go for. The centre-backs look the most nailed on right now. There's going to be probably or possibly a little bit of rotation in the full-back positions. Tarkowski and Mia are just going to play every game, however, which is really good. And they are decent aerial threats from those corners as well. So if you think that one of them is going to get a decent return from a set piece, it could happen. They could get a nice header. You've got to be in it to win it. And for that reason, they're kind of punty, kind of hoping for the best there. But I should say, guys, they do play Leicester in double game week 27. So Tarkowski and me, Leicester failing from set pieces all the time. Maybe they could do something. Don't know, guys, just putting that out there. But yeah, 2 players that could be worth going for as well. But definitely, Weghorst, Cornet would be top of my priority list in terms of Game Week 26 Burnley picks. And Pope is an option there as well if you are looking for a goalkeeper and you don't really fancy Ramsdale, or you want to bench boost a Ramsdale and a Pope. That could be pretty nice, something like that. Spurs, there's not too much to talk about, to be honest. Man City away, Burnley away. I don't know how I feel about this. Son is the best one by far. I think Son is a very good option for this game week. You do kind of feel like if anyone is going to get past the high line of Man City, it is going to be Son. Son's going to benefit from that one. So, yeah, pretty nice there. And maybe a clean sheet. Son's going to get that clean sheet point as well against Burnley. Yeah, I like this pick, really. Son is a player you probably are looking to go for, particularly if you're a Bruno Fernandes owner right now. It's a really easy switch for you to go from Bruno to So many good reasons to go for Son. If you're a Ronaldo owner, maybe you can go for Kane, although I like the look of Son a little bit more as a longer term option as well. I think Son, it just has a little bit more value for money there. And if you do want a defender, it's super risky. All of the fullbacks are super rotation risk. really rotation risk. And again, we don't want to go for rotation risk players in a double game week. We want those nailed on players. And arguably the only nailed on Spurs defender at the moment is Romero. So that's pretty much your only option. But is he really going to get you too many more, or anything above a clean sheet points? Probably not. And one of the 2 games is against Man City, and you're probably not going to pick up any clean sheet points there. So it's a punt. I would avoid the Spurs defence entirely, personally, but if you do have to go for someone and you are just looking for someone to play, Romero is an option, I suppose. And finally, we've got Leeds, the worst of the Game Week 26 fixtures. But there are 2 options. We've got Rafinha here, who is, Rafinha, one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. A super interesting player. And is on those penalties as well, so that's going to be pretty nice. But I do think it's worth giving a shout out to Dan James as well, who's been playing as a striker of recent games. So a midfielder playing out of position, slightly cheaper than Rafinha, and playing as striker, and been playing pretty well there as well, grabbing a few goals from that position. So yeah, it's an option. It's a bit of a pun. I agree. Rafinha is probably the better long-term option, particularly if you think that maybe the lead strikers are eventually going to come back between now and the end of the season. But the fixtures are tough. They are really tough. So you would kind of be depending perhaps on a penalty or something like that, which is more Rafinha's bag. Maybe you feel like these 2 players can do the business against Manchester United at home, possibly. I don't know. You guys tell me. But there you go. That is Leeds and their very limited amount of options at the moment, even in a double game week. So finally, these are the players who I like the most. In order of from 1 to 8, these are my top picks for Game Week 26. So no surprise, Salah sits at the number 1 position. We've got Trent in number 2, Robertson 3, and Jota 4. Unfortunately, we can't have all 4 of those guys. So you are going to have you do kind of have a decision to make. Who do you prefer, Robertson or Jota? Maybe you have one already. If so, just stick with that guy because there's not that much in it, to be honest. They're both going to do really well. So yeah. Those Liverpool boys, those are your priorities. If you are missing, if you only have 2 Liverpool players, your priority is to get a 3rd one in. And it's kind of up to you who your 3rd one is going to be. But make sure you have Salah and Trent for sure. After that, Ramsdale, pretty good pick. Not sure if I'd necessarily use a transfer on Ramsdale. Unless you kind of really want him for the long term and you do have cover for your other goalkeeper for someone to play in Game Week 27, then that could be a good idea to go for Ramsdale. Son I think he's a good option to go for just because he's the player most likely to penetrate Man City, I would say. He's got a really good record at Man City, so that could be pretty good. And then Burnley is just Burnley, so we kind of already know that Spurs could score some goals against Burnley. It's just going to be a case of who's going to have a good chance of getting scores against City as well. I don't know. Saka I really like, but again, there is that problem of he's going to cause you some problems in Game Week 27 because Saka doesn't play in Game Week 27. And Weghorst I really like as well. Really like this pick, and he just fills up one of those striker slots, which is so hard to do at the moment. And you know, if I'm going to have any striker in FPL right now, I think it's Weghorst. I think Weghorst would be the number 1 priority striker pick to have right now. So there we go, guys. Those are my top 8 picks for Game Week 26. So guys, what did you think of that? Are there any players you think I've maybe missed out? Are there any players that you think are really essential players for Game Week 26 that you think are absolute must-buys? Who are you getting in? Who is your number 1 transfer target for the big double? I'd love to know, guys. Yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. It really helps out the channel. Do subscribe if you want to hear more FPL content all through the week. There's going to be plenty of stuff this week. I'm going to ramp it up a little bit because we do love a double game week and we need the content. We need to talk about it. It's absolutely essential. We've got to do it. So there we go, guys. In terms of the rest of the videos this week, there's going to be a buy, sell, keep, avoid video tomorrow. Then we're going to do the 100 experts video. That's going to be back. We're going to do a team selection video. And then finally, I might finish off on Friday with a differentials video because I know a few of you guys have mentioned you'd like some more differentials. And I do love a spicy differential, yes indeed. So there we go, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.